The Tunguska eruption. What happened on June 30th, 1908? The Tunguska event. In the morning of June 30th, 1908 in Tunguska, Siberia. According to the descriptions of the residents who were eyewitnesses, they initially watched a circular object in the sky that glowed with white light, and it had a tail, and while crossing the sky for about 15 feet, it suddenly turned into a fireball that fell into a ruined forest, instantly destroying an area of more than 2,000 square kilometers, while the fire that broke out lasted for weeks, burning another 10,000 square kilometers. The coordinates of the epicenter of the phenomenon are longitude 101 east and latitude 62 north, 90 kilometers north of the settlement of Vanavara in the present-day Tunguska state of Russia. Many geodynamic institutes around the world and the region recorded strong seismic tremors, and the Innsbruck Observatory observed a disturbance in the Earth's magnetic field as well. The explosion was very powerful, about 20 megatons of TNT, that is, 2,000 times greater than the explosions that occurred in Hiroshima and Nagasaki after the dropping of the nuclear bombs. In fact, after comparing the aerial photos of Tunguska with Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the similarities they show in terms of the image and the size of the disaster are amazing. What did the first on-site investigation show? The first research in the area to investigate the phenomenon was done a year after its occurrence without bringing any results. A second organized expedition followed 18 years later in 1927 by a Russian team of scientists whose members were amazed to find that despite the massive destruction, think huge trees had been cut into small strips and fallen in a circular shape similar to the rays of a bicycle wheel, there was no impact crater anywhere. They also found pieces of metal debris, which they collected, while they could not explain the fact that near the site of the explosion in the years following 1908, thousands of people had died from an unknown disease whose symptoms had never before been recorded in Tunguska. The third big organized mission was done in 1947 by order of Stalin, when it was confirmed that there were many traces of radioactivity in the area. Other expeditions followed, which also brought important facts to light, and which each time, instead of solving the situation, rather confused things. Was this an asteroid or a comet? The composition of the celestial body Tunguska remains controversial. In 1930, the British astronomer Francis John Welch Whipple suggested it was just a small comet, composed mainly of ice and dust, such a body could have been completely vaporized by friction with the Earth's atmosphere, leaving no obvious traces. The cometary hypothesis is also supported by the increased brightness of the night sky observed across Europe for several nights after the explosion, and interpreted as dust and ice that would have been dispersed from the comet's tail into the upper atmosphere. The comet hypothesis gained general acceptance among Soviet explosion researchers during the 1960s. In 1978, the Slovak astronomer Lubor Kresak suggested more specifically that the body was a fragment of a short-lived comet Enki, responsible for the Beta Taurids meteor shower. The Tunguska event coincided with an outburst of the shower, and the approaching orbit of body of Tunguska coincides with that exact expected of such a fragment. In 1983, the astronomer Zdenka Zekanina published a paper criticizing the comet hypothesis. He argued that a cometary body traveling through the atmosphere in such an oblique orbit should have disintegrated already at a very high altitude, while the Tunguska body apparently survived intact into the troposphere. Zekanina argued for a solid and rocky body, which was probably a small asteroid. This hypothesis was also supported in 2001 in a study by Farinella, Foncisi, and colleagues, who argued that the body had come from the direction of the asteroid belt. Proponents of the comet hypothesis have suggested that the body was an old comet with a rocky mantle, which allowed it to penetrate deeper into the atmosphere. The main difficulty with the asteroid theory is that such a large rocky body should have reached the ground and created a large crater at the point of impact, but no such crater was found. The only solution is that the passage of the asteroid through the atmosphere caused increased pressure and temperatures to the point of explosion. The dissolution should have been complete so that no residues of any size are saved. Models published in 1993 indicate that the body was about 60 meters, 180 feet in diameter, with physical properties between simple and carbonaceous chondrite. In the 1990s, Italian researchers extracted resin from inside trees in the blast area to examine particles captured by the blast. They found high concentrations of materials typically found in rocky asteroids and less commonly in comets. Now, could this have been a UFO crash? Several UFO enthusiasts have claimed that the Tunguska event was a result of an alien spaceship exploding or even an alien weapon detonated to save Earth from an imminent threat, quote unquote. These claims appear to have originated in 1946 science fiction short story by Soviet engineer Alexander Kazantsev, in which a nuclear-powered Martian spacecraft in search of fresh water from Lake Baikal is blown up. Kazantsev was inspired by this story from his visit to Hiroshima in late 1945. Many elements in his story were mixed with the real events in Tunguska. The nuclear-powered UFO theory was adopted by Thomas Atkins and John Baxter in their book The Fire Came By in 1976. The 1998 Turner Network television series The Secret KGB UFO Files, Phenomenon The Lost Archives, referred to the event of Tunguska as the Russian Roswell and claimed that UFO debris had been found in the area. Proponents of the UFO theory have never been able to provide any proof of their claims. It should be noted that the site, being east of the Baikonur Cosmodrome, has received Russian space debris many times, the largest being the failed launch of the 5th Vostok test flight on December 22, 1960. The spacecraft fell near the blast site of Tunguska, and a team of engineers was sent there to recover the capsule and its 2 dog passengers who did survive. Please leave your comments about this, and thank you for your support. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.